Science fantasy movie Krull from 1983 is one of my all-time favorites. Now, many say that the movie did not necessarily age all that well, but without question, it is one of the greatest fantasy movies that we ever got in the 80s and 90s, and arguably, probably in everybody's top 25 list of fantasy movies of all time. And now there's a rumor that none other than JJ Abrams is going to reboot Krull. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome back to Echo Base Network. This is our inaugural episode, our debut episode of EBN Expanded, where we're going beyond our love of Star Wars and we're going to report on some other things that are near and dear to our heart. Today, my antenna was raised when I saw the headline that JJ Abrams was in fact set to reboot Krull. Now, I first saw it right here at Giant Freaking Robot, and normally when I see something that only Giant Freaking Robot is reporting, I take that with a major grain of salt. Giant Freaking Robot has been known to put out some headlines that were very questionable. Before we get into what the article actually says, let's look and see what is Krull. Released in 1983, Krull, a fantasy adventure film directed by Peter Yates. It was set in a mystical world filled with magical creatures and treacherous landscapes. The film follows Prince Colwyn and Princess Lissa, whose wedding is interrupted by the invasion of an otherworldly army known as the Slayers, led by the malevolent Beast. To rescue his beloved and save their world, Colwyn embarks on a perilous quest, wielding a powerful weapon called the Glaive, and accompanied by a band of eclectic companions. As they journey through a fantastical realm filled with sorcery and danger, the group encounters challenges, mystical seers, and formidable adversaries. Krull is a captivating blend of science fiction and fantasy, known for its imaginative world-building, impressive visual effects, and epic adventure that captivated audiences during its release in the early 1980s. Here are some things that you may not have known about the movie Krull. The main weapon in the film used by hero Colwyn, called the Glaive, is one of the film's most iconic elements. It's a unique, five-bladed throwing star that can return to its wielder's hand. The Glaive was created solely for the movie and became a memorable symbol of the film. The movie was filmed in several stunning locations, including various places in Scotland and Italy. Krull features a young Liam Neeson in one of his early film roles. He plays the character Keegan, a member of Colwyn's group of adventurers. Neeson's career would go on to include many iconic roles, including Qui-Gon Jinn in the Star Wars prequels. The film's score was composed by James Horner, who would later become renowned for his work on movies like Titanic and Avatar. The Krull soundtrack is considered one of his earlier notable compositions. Krull faced various challenges during production, including inclement weather in Scotland. The film was released around the same time as other major fantasy movies like E.T. the Extraterrestrial and Conan the Barbarian, which made it face stiff competition at the box office. Despite its initial lukewarm reception, Krull has gained a cult following over the years, with fans appreciating its unique blend of fantasy and science fiction elements. Krull also drew inspiration from various sources, including classic fantasy literature and other fantasy films of the era. Some have noted similarities between Krull and the Star Wars franchise due to their shared interest in blending genres and creating immersive worlds. If you're a fan of science fiction and fantasy, Krull is a must-see movie. You gotta go see it. But is JJ Abrams up to task to reboot Krull? Well, to answer that question, let's look and see what kind of issues people have, like us, with JJ Abrams. The following is a short list of common criticisms and reasons why some people do not like JJ Abrams. First, his overuse of mystery box. Abrams is known for his love of mystery and suspense in storytelling. Some critics argue that he relies too heavily on what he calls the mystery box approach, where questions are raised without clear answers, potentially leading to unsatisfying conclusions in his projects. Many viewers feel that JJ Abrams suffers from a lack of originality. He tends to draw from existing franchises and properties rather than creating wholly original content. They may view his work as derivative or unoriginal. And if he reboots Krull, this is another case of that very thing happening. Abrams has been involved in rebooting or continuing several iconic franchises, such as Star Trek and Star Wars. Some fans of these franchises may have strong opinions about the direction he took, leading to disagreements and criticism. Guilty. Abrams is also known for his frequent use of lens flares in his films, which has become a signature visual style. However, many people find it distracting and overused. And the final thing that I want to key in on here is plot holes. In some of Abrams' projects, particularly in complex sci-fi narratives like Lost and Star Trek, viewers have pointed out plot holes and inconsistencies that they find frustrating. There are other reasons, such as his treatment of female characters, high expectations, his personal style, and the Lost finale. Ugh. So with all of that out of the way, let's see exactly what is being reported on here by a giant freaking robot and so many other sites. The article says, if you're worried that JJ Abrams wants to reboot everything you loved when you were younger, the good news is that not many people loved this movie until long after it was deemed a box office bomb. Giant Freaking Robot reports that JJ Abrams, the guy who helped revive the film franchises for Star Trek and Star Wars, is attached to direct a reboot of the 1983 sci-fi fantasy flop, Krull of Warner Brothers. I don't like calling it a flop. The movie is iconic. I love it. The news of Warner Brothers rebooting Krull with JJ Abrams attached is interesting for a number of reasons. On one hand, they report it isn't Warner Brothers who produced the original film, but Columbia Pictures, which was acquired by Sony 6 years later. Presumably, this news means Warner Brothers must have quietly acquired the Krull rights from Sony. We're also assuming Abrams' attachment to the project must have begun before the current WGA strike, and not just because the strikes have slowed down just about everything. Earlier this month, The Hollywood Reporter broke the news that Warner Brothers had suspended its exclusive deals with a number of prominent producers, including Abrams. Even before the strike, there were reports that Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav wasn't happy with the deal made with Abrams' Bad Robot. Of course, suspended isn't the same as canceled, and the dual writers and actor strikes have made big question marks hover over everything in the entertainment world. When we have more news about the Krull reboot, we'll make sure you know about it. So not a whole lot of meat on the bone there about JJ Abrams and his potentially rebooting the movie Krull, but I gotta tell you guys, I would not be in favor of this. I wouldn't want them to reboot the movie unless they actually continued the story. Don't just give us one movie. You know, for years, for decades, literally for decades, there was always rumors of a sequel to Krull. It never happened, and it's probably not going to happen at this point for sure. But should something like that be rebooted, I actually am going to go ahead and just say flat out no. Don't reboot Krull. You know, even though I like the story, go create something new. Quit this era of reboots, because it really just shows a total lack of creativity. And I don't trust Abrams or anybody today to take a movie like Krull and actually make it better. You're not going to do that. That never, literally never happens. And specifically JJ Abrams. I mean, he damaged Star Wars. What about Star Trek? How did he do that? He got it off to a decent start, but it definitely came crashing down very quickly. He's just not the kind of director or person that I want to see rebooting anything that is near and dear to my heart and something that I loved. I just don't trust him. Let me know in the comments what you think about JJ Abrams and his potentially rebooting Krull. Thank you for watching this episode of Echo Base Network and our first inaugural episode of Echo Base Expanded. We are Echo Base Network. See you on the next one.